So here's the first problem. If I give you a circle and it has a center of 3, -7 and a radius of 6, how do we write the equation of the circle? X minus 3.
And then x plus 7.
Before that.
Plus x plus
No, squared. There we go. X minus 3 squared plus
x plus 7.
y.
Y
Plus 7 squared equals
6. The opposite.
12.
36. 36.
Could you stop, Daniel? You're not recording.
So we're doing the opposite sign and the opposite sign, and then we square it. All right. Here's the next example. Let's say we have the center is at 0, 16, and the area of the circle is pi, is 25 pi. Just kidding, 25 pi. Do you like my 25? Does it look nice? Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the support. So the center is 0, 16. The area of the circle is 25 pi. That's all they told us.
Isn't there a equation?
Yeah, we got to write. Yeah, we do have to use an equation, but we can get the circle started first, right? Because we have the center. You do not need a calculator.
X minus 0.
You could do x plus.
So you could do x plus 0, x minus 0. Do you even have to write that part of it?
No, you just put x.
You could just put x squared. Okay, so you can put x squared, or if you want, you could put like x minus 0 squared or x plus 0 squared. It's the same thing. Those are both good. Okay, and then what do we put next for the 16?
Plus y minus 6.
Okay, and then what's the part that we need to finish it? We need the radius. We need the r squared, right? This is going to equal r squared. Okay, so let's go over to our second clue. The second clue in the problem says the area is 25 pi. What's the formula for area of a circle? Pi r squared. So we have pi r squared equals 25 pi.
So wouldn't it just be 5? Because if you get rid of the pi and then you do the square root of 25, it's 5. But your r squared would also equal 25.
So if we look at this, I see pi r squared equals 25 pi. I can cancel out the pi's because there's one on each side. And then if I look at it, I say, oh, r squared is 25. So that means my radius is 5. The equation has to equal r squared. So what should I put right here? 25. And we're done.
So pretty much when we get this area, we can go ahead and assume our r squared is just
The number.
next
Yep.
5.
So both of these answers are good. You can put the 0. You cannot put the 0. It doesn't really matter. Okay. Let's do another one. We're going to say the center is 11, -4. And then there's a point on the circle at -5, 2. Yeah, she's finishing up a test.
Gracias.
You'll see her in a minute.
Está bien, gracias.
Yeah. She said it's all good. Thank you. I got it, right? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. True story, I used to teach Spanish. It was only for a year. I am not fluent. So it was good, as you can imagine. So I know a little bit.
Math teacher during the day, Spanish teacher at night.
Oh, no. It was mostly math teacher during the day, one period of Spanish. And I was so angry. I was working at a very small school, and it was like, hey, we can hire you as the math teacher if you'll also teach a period of Spanish. Do you know Spanish? And I said, no. They said, have you ever taken Spanish? And I said, yeah, in high school. And they said, would you teach it? And I said, sure. if you want to hire me, sure. And so I took like a refresher course in college that summer, like a college course that summer. And I was like, yeah, like I'm decent at learning languages. There's been studies that have shown if you're good at math, you're usually good at learning foreign languages. It's like the same part of the brain. So like I can learn Spanish pretty easily. Teaching it is a whole different story. And then I found out after I got the job that one of the other teachers there was fluent in French. They just needed a foreign language. They didn't care which one it was. There was a teacher there who was fluent in French and he just didn't want to teach it. I was like, dude, you were actually fluent. What would have been better for the kids? It's all about the kids, you know? Except that it wasn't, and I taught Spanish horribly for a year. But I tried. Yeah. Hey. Mm-hmm.
Casey sub pulled out for today, so if you could cover the second period, I could cover the tour.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yep. All right. So we have the center of the circle is 11, -4. We have a point on the circle. So what do we need to do? We can start it at least, right?
Yes.
How do we start it?
X minus 11 squared and x plus y plus 4 squared.
And then for the rest, we need to find enough information to get the r squared.
Should we just count like the distance between them?
You can, that's the harder way. You can do it that way. That's the harder way to do the problem. So she was saying, couldn't we literally find the distance between these two, right? Because that would be the radius. Between the center and a point on the circle, that would be the radius. And then you have to remember the distance formula from middle school. And that's like a little bit of like a brain crunch. There's an easier way to do it. Go ahead and take. I wrote you a pass. Hold on. What time is it?
I got you. It is.
Here you go.
8:41.
Thank you. Marvelous. Got it. All right, so we have x minus 11 squared, y plus 4 squared. We need to find the r squared. If we were to transport back to middle school for a minute, we'd probably use the distance formula to find the distance between the 2 points. The other way to do it, which is a little bit easier, I think, because you can just use a calculator, is we're going to say that the point is an x coordinate and a y coordinate. And then we're going to plug the x in for x. -5 minus 11 squared. We're going to plug the y in for y. 2 plus 4 squared. And then we're going to type that in a calculator and see what it is. Because the answer it's going to pop out is going to be r squared. And that's exactly what we're going to use. So if you don't have a calculator, go grab one. If you do have a calculator.
I hate it.
I think it's 292 if I didn't make any mistakes. Look, I finished it by hand before you guys even got back to your seats. So we have, this is -16 squared, which is the same thing as positive 16 squared. So 256. This is 6 squared, which is 36. I went ahead and added those by hand because I'm a magician. And I got 292. And so it just equals 292. Aniston, thank you for always laughing. I appreciate it. And that was a sincere laugh. You can tell because she had to like face palm. It was a sincere laugh. It's like teacher jokes and dad jokes are at the same level, you know, of like stupid. I mean, I'm all about that life though. All right, let's do another one. We've got a circle. Ooh, we're going to do endpoints of the diameter. Ooh, endpoints of the diameter. And the endpoints are going to be 5, -6.
Was endpoints of the diameter even in the video?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at you getting all sassy and then being told.
It's sassy.
It was a little sassy. Was it even in the video? All right, -13. What number? 4. Yeah, we can do 4. Okay. So endpoints of the diameter is saying like you have a point on one end of the circle and then a point directly across from it on the other end of the circle. And so this is the first time we've done an example problem that did not give us the center, which means that the first thing that we want is the center. So this is the one where I said you have to find the middle of the points. And if we want to find the middle of something, what do we do? Don't subtract. Add them. Divide by 2. You could subtract them technically, but it's a little bit more difficult. There's like more process. So we're going to go ahead and add the x's together and divide by 2. So we're going to say 5 plus negative 13 divided by 2 and negative 6 plus 4 divided by 2. And what we're finding right now is the center. So 5 plus negative 13, negative 8. Negative 8 divided by 2. You're close. Negative 4. And then negative 6 plus 4 divided by 2. Okay. So let's go ahead and start writing this equation. X plus 4 squared. Y plus 1 squared. Now for this one, we have some fun options because we have an x and a y right here. And we could take that x and that y and plug them in for x and y. Or we have an x and a y right here, and we could take this x and y and plug them in.
Would those be the same thing?
Yep.
It would?
Yep, because they're both points on the circle, so they're both going to work. So do you guys want to plug in 5, negative 6, or negative 13, 4?
5, negative 6.
All right. So we're going to say 5 plus 4 squared plus negative 6 plus 1 squared, and we're going to figure out what that is. That's 9 squared plus 5, negative 5 squared, 106. I was almost there. And so it's 106. All right. Now we're going to practice some completing the square problems. Whew. Whew. These are the ones that take a little bit more effort, okay? All right, you guys ready?
No.
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and do it. So, we have x squared plus y squared plus 20x plus 6y plus 28 equals 0. And so this is called the general conic section, or the general form for a circle. We want the standard form for a circle, which is what we were just looking at. We like the standard form because it tells us what the center is and what the radius is. It's easier to work with. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our x's and we're going to separate them from the y's. So x squared plus 20x, leave a space. Y squared plus 6y, leave a space. And then I'm going to say that I took the 28 and I subtracted it to the other side. And then we are doing the completing the square process. So we're going to take this and divide it by 2. So 20 divided by 2 is 10. And then 10 squared is 100. So I'm going to say plus 100. And since I added 100 to the left side of the equation, what do I have to add to the right side of the equation? 100. So I'm going to say plus 100 over here. And then I'm going to do 6 divided by 2, which is 3. And then 3 squared is 9. So that's why Kaylee said the other one is plus 9. So we add 9 to the left side. And we add 9 to the right side. Okay, so now we have something squared plus something squared equals some number over here. And do you guys remember what goes in the parentheses?
The one that you squared, so it would be like the 10.
Yep, so whatever you got when you divided by 2, the number that you squared is exactly right. So x plus 10 and y plus 3
81.
equals 81. So negative 28 plus 100 plus 9.
It's not that bad.
Mm-mm.
Is that it?
That's it.
Or the center and the radius now.
Yeah, we can find the center and radius. So what's the center?
What would be negative 10, negative 3?
Mm-hmm.
And then the radius would be square root of 81, which is 9.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't that fun? Oh man, let's do another one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. X squared plus y squared minus 8x plus 16y plus 3 equals 0. So what do I do first? I separate the x's and the y's. So x squared minus 8x, leave a space. Y squared plus 16y, leave a space, equals negative 3. Okay? Then what do I do?
You
Divide
divide
negative
it.
3 by 2.
So negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 squared equals 16. Awkward. So if we add 16 to the left side, what do we have to do to the right side? Add 16. So with this one, we're going to say 16 divided by 2 is 8. 8 squared, 64. So we're going to add 64 to the left side. And then
So you get,
add 64 to the right side.
and then you get x minus 4 squared plus y minus 8 squared equals 77.
I almost agree with you.
Almost.
Almost.
I said minus 4.
Yep. X minus 4,
X plus 8.
y plus 8.
I mean y plus 8, and then that would equal 77, right?
77?
That's what I got.
80? 80 minus 3? Yeah. What's the center of this circle? 4, negative 8. Okay. What's the radius of the circle? Square root of 77, which would be a decimal. Yeah. Yeah, I would leave it as square root 77 unless they wanted me to graph it. And then I'd be like, ugh, let me write down that stupid decimal. And then I'd graph it.
Would you round?
You'd have to graph it.
Which place would you round?
If I was graphing it, I'd probably do 1 decimal place because I'm not going to be able to accurately graph 2 decimal places anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was so fun. Let's do another one.
No.
Yeah. All right. Here's the next one.
It's the radius.
X squared plus y squared plus 20y plus 36. Oh my goodness, something's missing. Yeah, there's no x term.
Did you say the next from last night?
Yes, that'd be awesome. All right, so there's no plain old x term. The x term is gone.
Okay.
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
Could we just write a 0 and fill that in?
You could, yeah. So we're going to say, I'm still going to separate the x's and the y's, right? So I've got x squared, and then that's it for the x's. And then I've got y squared plus 20y, and then I'm leaving a space,
Equals negative 36.
equals negative 36. Okay.
What did you solve for the y?
Yeah, so we're going to ignore the x. We're just going to leave it there, call it good. And then we're going to say with the y, 20 divided by 2 is 10. 10 squared is 100.
And then you add it to the other side. And you would get x squared plus 5 plus 10 squared equals 64.
So with the x squared, we just left it as x squared. We didn't do anything with it, we just left it there. And then we had plus y plus 10 squared equals 64. Right, negative 36 plus 100 is 64. And do we know what the center is for this circle?
0.
Yeah, 0, negative 10. And the radius is 8. Okay, so you can still do it if there's a missing term. It just means that that part of the center is a 0. That's why there was nothing else there. Okay? Man, wasn't that fun? Do you guys see the activity around the room?
Yeah.
The last 3 problems we did were from the activity. So if you get to those problems, you don't have to do them. You just know, like, oh, this sounds familiar. Let me look at my notes and then write down the answer because I already did it. Okay. So here's how the activity works. As I've taught this, I have noticed that these problems are easier and these problems are more difficult. Would you agree? So when I wrote the activity, I made it so you do an easy problem and then a hard problem. And then an easy problem, and then a hard problem, and then an easy problem, and then a hard problem. And what's going to end up happening is the hard problems are going to become easy because you do them twice as often, and so they get like repetitive, and you're like, oh, I got it. And then these ones end up being the ones you have to think about more because they're a little different each time. Okay?
Is this on the website?
This is on the website. So there are 22 questions, I believe. I'm not expecting you guys to get to all 22. We're just going to say, okay, if we're focused, how many do we get to? And then at the end of class, I will tell you what the expectation was. And if you didn't get there, then you'll have to do some at home. Okay? They are in alphabetical order. They start, note there's a lot. They start right here. J is kind of hidden. It's right there behind like the Tupperware. There's also one kind of hidden over there on the other side of the whiteboard by the door. There's also one kind of hidden right here because it's in the middle of the dead baby animals.
That's like E.
Okay. Yes, also the font is kind of funky. I know how you guys love funky fonts. So if you're like, ooh, I can't read what letter that is, just look at the letters near it because it's alphabetical. So then you can figure it out. Okay? And if you have issues, let me know because I do have the answer key up here and I can help you.
Can I look at it on the website?
I guess. I'm trying to give you guys some exercise. It's like integrated, we're doing integrated subject learning, where we're learning math and physical education at the same time by walking around the room.
Yesterday, our science teacher made us walk online.
Oh my gosh, how terrible.
It was good.
Whew, that's rough.
Miss Barlow, we haven't walked a mile yet.
We had to walk the entire cross the line.
All right, so you guys know what to do, right? Shh, we know what to do. We know what to do. We know. Charlie. We know what to do. You start anywhere you want. Ready, break. Ready, break. Not for you because you text too much. Nope.